Welcome to Whispers of the Night. You will take a gentle stroll through the celestial night market, a place where lanterns float softly, clouds drift lazily beneath your feet, and moons hover close enough to touch. In this space, time slows, and calmness becomes your companion. Allow yourself to settle comfortably, letting your body release the tension of the day. Feel your shoulders soften. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale fully, letting your thoughts drift like lanterns into the night sky. You are safe here. Every soft glow, every drifting cloud, every gentle note of the unseen music is here to guide you. You may notice the warmth of lanterns on your skin, the hush of the market, the calm that exists between each step. As we begin this journey, consider subscribing to Whispers of the Night to join us in more evenings of peace, calm, and gentle exploration. Let your presence be gentle, your breath unhurried, and allow the celestial night market to welcome you fully. As you continue through the celestial night market, notice the gentle sway of lanterns above and the drifting clouds beneath your feet. Every step you take is soft, every breath is calm. The stalls you pass do not sell objects, but experiences, the warmth of a moment remembered, the quiet courage tucked deep within your chest. The soft feeling of holding a hand without needing to speak. Allow these feelings to pass gently through you, dissolving tension with every heartbeat. Hear the music that flows between footsteps, soft and unseen. Let it ripple through your mind, slowing your thoughts, letting your heart find its natural rhythm. The melodies rise and fall with your presence, encouraging calm, quiet awareness. Now, imagine the Sky Tailor's stall, glowing faintly with starlight. A cloak of patience and rest is offered. Wrap yourself in it, feeling warmth and safety enfolding your shoulders. With each gentle motion, tension melts and ease settles in deeper than before. You may pause at the center of the market, beneath the floating moons, and sip a warm, wordless tea. Feel it spread comfort through your body, each sip dissolving worry without naming it. Thoughts soften, stretching into a gentle, effortless silence. Every inhalation invites calm. Every exhalation releases the day. The market slowly fades at the edges now. Lanterns dimming, clouds thickening, and stars settling above. Yet nothing is lost. Calm remains with you. Your body feels lighter, your mind slower, each moment folding into a soft, unhurried awareness. Drift in this sensation. Let the gentle glow, soft music, and the warmth of your surroundings carry you toward rest. Breathe deeply now, letting every muscle soften, every thought settle. You are held. You are safe. The celestial night market will always return when stillness is welcomed. Allow this night to fold gently around you, carrying you closer to sleep with ease and serenity. A stroll through the celestial night market. When the lanterns awaken, as twilight deepens into indigo, the protagonist follows a soft glow drifting through the air. It begins as a single thread of light, pale and patient, moving just ahead. The sky above is neither fully night nor fully day, but something in between, a slow-breathing canvas where the last warmth of sunset lingers at the edges. The air feels cool against the skin, yet welcoming, like the first quiet moment after a long journey. With every breath, the world behind seems to soften, loosening its grip, allowing attention to drift forward instead of back. The ground beneath the protagonist's feet is steady, yet oddly forgiving, as though each step is cushioned by an unseen hand. Sounds from elsewhere, distant voices, remembered worries, unfinished thoughts fade until they resemble echoes heard underwater. In their place comes a gentle hush, not silence exactly, but a spacious quiet that hums with possibility. The soft glow ahead pulses once, inviting rather than demanding, and the protagonist follows without questioning why. There is no sense of urgency here. Time feels stretched, like silk held loosely between two fingers. Slowly, shapes begin to emerge from the deepening blue. At first, they seem like clouds caught low in the air, but as the protagonist draws nearer, these shapes gather structure and intention. Arched roofs curve delicately against the sky. Pathways unfurl like ribbons, suspended yet stable. The glow divides itself, becoming many lights instead of one, each small and warm. Lanterns awaken one by one, their illumination gentle, as if careful not to startle the night. They flicker softly, resembling fireflies, remembering how to shine. The market reveals itself, not all at once, but in breaths. A stall appears where there was none a moment before. A bridge of light extends across empty space, inviting crossing without fear. The stars overhead seem closer here, larger, as if they have leaned down to observe. Clouds drift lazily between lanterns, catching warm reflections along their edges, turning silver and gold before dissolving again. The protagonist pauses, overcome by the quiet beauty of it all, feeling small but never insignificant. Each lantern carries its own tone of lightsome amber, some pearl white, others tinged faintly with rose or blue. They sway gently, though no wind can be felt. Their movement seems guided by something slower and deeper than air, perhaps the rhythm of rest itself. As the protagonist walks beneath them, shadows move softly across the path, never sharp, never dark enough to unsettle. The light here does not expose or judge. It simply accompanies. Gravity loosens its hold with every step. The body feels lighter, not as if floating away, but as if long-held tension has quietly been set down. Shoulders relax without instruction. Breathing deepens on its own, long and unhurried. The heart slows, finding a rhythm that matches the lantern's gentle sway. The protagonist notices that walking no longer requires effort. The path seems to meet each foot halfway, supporting movement rather than resisting it. There are other figures in the market, though they appear softly, never intruding. Some move slowly between stalls, others sit quietly on low steps or floating platforms, faces calm and unburdened. No one rushes, no one calls out. Even conversations, when they exist, are carried in murmurs that blend into the surrounding hum. The protagonist senses that everyone here has arrived for their own quiet reasons, and that those reasons are respected without being asked. A stall nearby glows faintly brighter than the others, its lanterns shaped like crescent moons. On its counter rests nothing tangible only, a gentle shimmer, like heat rising from stone after sunset. The protagonist understands, without being told, that this place does not trade in ordinary things. Nothing is being bought or sold in the usual sense. Presence itself feels like the currency, attention the only requirement. The protagonist moves on, content to observe rather than engage, knowing that there is no expectation to choose. The path curves upward slightly, and the protagonist realizes they are walking above the clouds now. Below, the world that was left behind is hidden entirely, not erased, but resting somewhere out of sight. There is no fear in this separation. Instead, there is relief. Responsibilities, names, unfinished tasks, all of them feel temporarily irrelevant, like shoes removed at the door. What remains is awareness, the lantern light, the steady steps, the calm unfolding of the moment. Overhead, the sky darkens further, settling into a deep, velvety night. Yet, it does not feel heavy. Stars brighten gently, scattered generously, their light reflecting in the polished surfaces of the market's paths. Some lanterns seem to mirror constellations, echoing patterns found above, as if the sky and the market are quietly conversing. The protagonist feels held between them, suspended in a space where above and below no longer compete. A subtle fragrance drifts through the air, something warm and familiar, though impossible to name. It carries hints of comfort. Old books, distant rain, freshly washed fabric warmed by moonlight. With each inhale, the body responds by softening further, as if recognizing a long-forgotten signal that it is safe to rest. The protagonist's thoughts slow, stretching out, losing their sharp edges. Even memories that surface do so gently, without pulling attention away. The lanterns continue to awaken as the protagonist walks, extending the market further into the night. It seems endless, yet never overwhelming. There is always just enough visible ahead, never too much at once. This pacing feels intentional, kind. The market does not demand exploration, it simply allows it. If the protagonist were to stop now, the lights would remain patient and unchanged. At one point, the protagonist pauses and looks back. The path behind is still there, softly lit, but already beginning to blur, as if distance here is measured differently. Forward feels clearer, not because it is known, but because it is gently illuminated. Trust arises naturally, without effort. The protagonist resumes walking, steps quiet, heart steady. Somewhere nearby, a lantern dims briefly, then brightens again, as if taking a breath. The market seems alive in this subtle way, not bustling, not noisy, but aware. It responds to presence, to calm, to unspoken intention. The protagonist senses that simply being here is enough, that nothing more is required. This realization settles warmly, like a blanket drawn up without being asked for. As the chapter of arrival draws to a close, the protagonist continues deeper into the celestial night market, wrapped in light and quiet. The lanterns glow steadily now, fully awake, guiding without leading, illuminating without revealing too much. Gravity remains gentle. Time remains kind. And with every step forward, the world feels a little softer, a little farther away, as rest begins to open its arms. Stalls that sell moments. The market widens as the protagonist wanders deeper, the pathways branching softly like streams that never rush. Lantern light pools gently at intersections, as if encouraging pause rather than direction. Here, the air feels different, thicker with meaning, lighter with expectation. There are stalls on either side now, each distinct yet unified by the same quiet hum, a low vibration that seems to settle not in the ears but in the chest. The protagonist slows without deciding to, footsteps naturally syncing with the rhythm of the place. At first glance, the stalls appear simple: low wooden counters, silk canopies, shelves made of cloud-polished stone. Yet none of them display objects in the way markets usually do. There are no prices, no labels, no signs calling out for attention. Instead, each stall glows faintly from within, as if holding something alive but unseen. The light is not constant. It shifts subtly, responding to presence, to breath, to stillness. The protagonist approaches the nearest stall and feels a sudden warmth bloom in the chest. Above the counter, something like a ripple of golden air forms, shaping itself briefly into soundless laughter. It is not loud or overwhelming, just a soft, familiar release, the kind that comes unexpectedly and leaves the body lighter. Images flicker within it, a shared joke, sunlight through a window, a moment when joy required no explanation. The laughter lingers for a heartbeat longer, then dissolves into tiny sparks that drift upward and vanish. The vendor behind the stall is there and not there at once, their presence gentle and unobtrusive. They do not speak, they do not gesture, they simply remain, as if witnessing alongside the protagonist. There is no invitation to take the laughter, no suggestion that it can be kept, and yet nothing feels withheld. The protagonist understands, without words, that the moment has already done what it needed to do simply by being felt. Moving on. The protagonist notices that each stall carries a different quality of light. One glows softly in hues of blue and silver, cool but reassuring. From it emanates a feeling of quiet courage, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the steady strength that appears when no one is watching. As the protagonist pauses nearby, the sensation settles gently into the body, straightening the spine just a little, easing a long-held tension between the shoulders. There is no memory attached, no story unfolding, only the calm certainty of having endured and continued. The pathways between stalls feel padded now, as if woven from patience. Footsteps make no sound. Even the lanterns seem quieter here, their glow steady and respectful. Other wanderers pass by slowly, some stopping, some simply breathing as they walk. No one competes for space. No one lingers too long. It is clear that each moment arrives in its own time and leaves the same way. At another stall, warmth radiates outward in gentle waves. As the protagonist steps closer, the sensation becomes unmistakable. The warmth of holding hands, not tied to to a specific person or memory, but the feeling itself, the shared heat, the unspoken understanding, the comfort of contact without demand. For a brief instant, the protagonist's fingers tingle, as if remembering something the mind had forgotten. The chest softens, breathing deepens. The warmth fades slowly, leaving behind a quiet sense of connection that requires no continuation. The protagonist does not reach out. There is nothing to pick up, nothing to place in pockets or carry away. And yet, with each stall passed, something shifts internally. The body responds, first relaxing, releasing, settling. Thoughts follow, stretching out, losing their sharp edges. The realization begins to form gently. These experiences are not diminished by being left behind. They do not disappear when unclaimed. They simply pass through, leaving traces of calm in their wake. A stall farther along seems almost empty, its light so faint it is nearly invisible. Curious, the protagonist pauses. Slowly, a feeling emerges, not warmth or strength, but quiet understanding. It is the sense of being listened to without interruption, of having space to exist without explanation. The market seems to hold its breath here. Even the lanterns dim slightly, allowing stillness to take center stage. The protagonist remains, doing nothing, feeling everything settle into place. Time behaves differently among these stalls. Minutes stretch, then compress. The concept of before and after loses relevance. There is only now, unfolding gently. The protagonist notices that there is no desire to hurry, no impulse to consume as much as possible before it's gone. Trust fills the space where urgency usually lives. These moments are abundant, not scarce. They do not need to be collected, to be meaningful. As the protagonist continues walking, the stalls begin to feel like mirrors, not reflecting faces or forms, but states of being. One stall hums with forgiveness, light and pale as morning mist. Another carries the softness of acceptance, glowing faintly pink like a cloud at dawn. None of these moments demand attention. They simply offer themselves to those who are present, enough to notice. The vendors remain quiet throughout, their roles more like caretakers than merchants. They watch the moments rise and fall, tending to them with subtle adjustments, stirring a lantern slightly, smoothing the air with a passing hand. The protagonist senses deep patience in them, an understanding that these experiences cannot be forced or sold in the traditional sense. They are not commodities, they are invitations. At one point, the protagonist wonders what it would mean to choose to stop and decide which moment to keep. The thought dissolves almost as soon as it forms. Keeping implies holding, and holding implies effort. Here, effort feels unnecessary. The market teaches without instructing, guiding without directing. Witnessing, it seems, is enough. The air grows warmer as the protagonist reaches the center of this section of the market. Lanterns cluster closer together, their light blending into a soft glow that feels almost like being indoors, sheltered. The stalls here offer simpler experiences. The feeling of sitting quietly at dusk, the sound of distant rain, the relief of setting something down after carrying it too long. Each one arrives gently, leaves gently, and asks nothing in return. The protagonist feels fuller now, though nothing has been added. It is the fullness of space being cleared, of weight being redistributed. Worries do not vanish dramatically. they simply lose importance, slipping to the edges of awareness. Thoughts slow enough to be felt individually, then drift away altogether. Eventually, the stalls thin out, their lights fading back into the general glow of the market. The protagonist walks on, not because there is more to find, but because walking itself feels like part of the listening. The lesson settles quietly. Some things are meant only to pass through awareness, not to be owned or stored away. Their value lies in the moment of contact, the brief alignment between presence and experience as the lanterns guide the way forward. The protagonist carries nothing in their hands and everything in their calm. The market continues, patient and unhurried, ready to offer more moments to those willing to simply be there. The music between footsteps. The protagonist continues along the glowing paths of the celestial night market, each step measured, unhurried, and in perfect harmony with the gentle rhythm of the space around them. As they walk, a sound begins to weave itself into the quiet air, soft and fluid, like water trickling over stones. It is music, but not the kind that comes from instruments or performers. It emerges from the market itself, from the lanterns, the pathways, even from the subtle breathing of the clouds that drift lazily beneath the protagonist's feet. Each note is delicate, a whisper that matches the soft cadence of the heart, almost imperceptible until listened to carefully. The melodies ripple outward from the path, spreading across stalls and arches, curving along floating bridges that connect different sections of the market. Each ripple interacts with the protagonist's steps. The slower their movement, the more the music elongates, stretching into rich, warm chords. Speeding up even slightly would tighten the melody into a playful, lighter sequence. But there is no desire to rush here. Time behaves differently in this place. It stretches and bends to the rhythm of presence. The protagonist begins to notice a curious sensation. This music does not merely accompany walking, it is generated by it. Every subtle shift of weight, every exhale, every turn of the head alters the tune, creating a living, responsive harmony that is uniquely theirs. Above, lanterns pulse faintly in sync with the melodies, their glow rising and falling like chests breathing. The lights seem to recognize the protagonist, not in a personal sense, but in acknowledgement of attentiveness, of quiet presence. Shadows sway softly along the edges of the path, but never harshly. Even the stalls, previously silent and still, begin to vibrate with a soft resonance that enhances the music, as though they, too, are listening and adding their voice. The market has transformed into an orchestra, where every object participates in the gentle symphony, guided solely by the awareness of those who wander through it. The protagonist pauses briefly near a bridge of translucent light. The surface of the bridge ripples underfoot as the music responds with delicate chimes, the sound rising and falling like a conversation. A slight breeze, imperceptible in ordinary space, lifts the edges of the protagonist's gown, and the fabric seems to sway with its own kind of rhythm. It is not the wind alone that moves it, The dress itself becomes a part of the musical flow, every fold and shimmer interacting with the gentle pulses of sound. The protagonist smiles faintly, recognizing the extraordinary responsiveness of this place, and allows their footsteps to slow even further, letting the music stretch, bend, and fill every space around them. Other wanderers pass silently, their presence adding subtle layers to the composition. One might tilt their head or lift a hand, and the notes shift in response. Another might pause entirely, and the air softens around them, giving rise to longer, lingering tones. There is no competition, no discord, only a collaboration that exists without agreement or understanding, a natural harmony born from quiet awareness. The protagonist feels a surge of gratitude for this realization. The music is not created by an external force, but by the simple act of existing fully in each moment. It is a gentle reminder that even presence alone has power, that mindfulness itself can be a melody capable of shaping reality. A stall appears nearby, its contents shimmering faintly with colors unseen before. The music changes subtly as the protagonist nears, the notes forming patterns reminiscent of soft waves and gentle breezes. These sounds seem to carry memory and emotion without ever naming them, evoking sensations of nostalgia, serenity, and quiet wonder. The protagonist does not attempt to capture the music, to hold it or repeat it, but simply lets it wash over them, letting each note sink into their body and mind, loosening tension held long without awareness. The heart slows, chest expands, and a deep calm spreads with every breath, with each careful step. The protagonist notices the music responding in increasingly intricate ways. A slight pivot of the foot produces a cascade of high, delicate tones that rise toward the drifting moons above. A pause allows the deep, grounding notes to resonate through the glowing pathways. The interplay of movement and sound feels intimate and personal, though it exists in a public, shared space. There is an understanding that the music has no ownership. It belongs to anyone who moves mindfully, anyone who listens fully, and yet it is uniquely shaped by each individual's presence. The pathway curves upward, and soft clouds drift at the edges of the bridge, brushing lightly against the protagonist's ankles. The music responds with faint ripples, a gentle echo that emphasizes weightlessness. Even the lanterns above seem to lean toward the sound, their glow pulsing in tandem with the rhythm of the steps. The air is filled with an invisible current that carries both sound and motion, and the protagonist feels suspended, not in flight, but in a state of serene awareness. Here, walking is meditation, and meditation is music. A subtle fragrance rises, floral, earthy, faintly sweet, and the protagonist notices it seems to synchronize with the melodies, adding a third layer to the sensory experience. Inhaling deeply, the chest expands further, matching the rise and fall of invisible chords. The body itself becomes part of the symphony. Breath, heartbeat, movement, and perception all intertwined. The music is no longer external. It flows from within, amplified by the gentle responsiveness of the market. The protagonist realizes that each step, each pause, each exhale contributes to the ongoing composition, forming a temporary, ever-changing masterpiece. The melodies continue to ripple ahead, carrying the protagonist forward through arches of lanterns, past stalls that glow faintly with abstract forms, and along paths that bend and rise into the night sky. Every sound is soft, never overwhelming, yet full of depth and resonance. It is a music of presence, awareness, and quiet reflection. Each note reminds the protagonist that some beauty cannot be held or named. It can only be experienced fully, surrendered to, and then released. Eventually, the pathways widen into a small, open area where the lanterns cluster in gentle circles and the music swells into a warm, enveloping harmony. Here, the protagonist slows to a halt, feeling the reverberation of every step taken echo through the air. The sensation is comforting, like the market itself, acknowledging their careful passage. The realization dawns. The music has not been performed for them, nor for anyone else. It exists because it is alive, because steps are taken, because breaths are measured, and attention is given. It is a quiet testament to presence, to awareness, to the profound connection between motion and perception. The protagonist continues onward, allowing the music to lead without thought, moving through the market with gentle patience. Each stall, each floating lantern, each drifting cloud contributes to the ongoing song, responding with subtle shifts in tempo, pitch, and light. There is no desire to reach a destination. The journey itself is the melody, and the melody is the journey. Thoughts soften, worries dissolve into harmonics, and the heart remains steady, slow, and full. With each passing moment, the protagonist learns something fundamental. The music is never finished, never static. It exists in constant dialogue with those who move through it. It changes, not because of force, but because of presence, because of willingness to notice, to breathe, and to step lightly. Walking itself becomes an act of creation, an offering of attention that leaves ripples behind, gentle and invisible, that fade and return with the rhythm of the market. As the chapter draws to a close, the protagonist takes one last slow step forward, feeling the music dissolve into a soft, resonant hum, the notes lingering in the air like the fading glow of lanterns at twilight. Every sense is attuned, every movement a part of the larger harmony, and a profound calm settles deeply within. In this space, the protagonist understands fully that music is not merely heard, is felt, lived, and embodied. It is shaped by presence itself, and in that shaping, the soul finds its quiet, luminous place in the market, ready to continue onward into the next chapter of wonder. The Sky Tailor's Gift. The pathways of the celestial night market curve gently upward as the protagonist moves forward, each step lighter than the last. Lanterns sway softly overhead, casting pale golden reflections on the drifting clouds. Beneath, a subtle scent of night-blooming flowers lingers in the air, sweet and calming, as if the market itself breathes slowly to invite ease. Up ahead, a small stall glows with starlight, its edges shimmering like silver threads spun from the sky itself. The light is gentle but radiant, pooling across the pathway and giving the surrounding clouds a soft, silvery sheen. The stall seems different from all others, less a place of commerce and more a sanctuary of quiet patience. Its counter is covered in fabric that undulates as if alive, dark as midnight, yet flecked with tiny points of radiant light that mimic distant stars. The cloth glows faintly, responding to the presence of the protagonist with a subtle warmth that spreads through the air. Behind the stall stands a tailor, motioning neither with words nor gestures, yet entirely present. Their hands move with fluid grace, weaving constellations into the fabric, as though stitching the night itself into tangible form. Stars arrange and rearrange themselves under the tailor's fingers, connecting into patterns both familiar and unknown, constellations that seem to pulse with calm energy. There is no sense of rush. The threads move in harmony with a timeless rhythm, each stitch deliberate and full of patience. The protagonist approaches quietly, feeling the glow from the stall envelop them like a soft embrace. There is no question asked, no request for payment. Instead, the tailor simply offers a cloak, folded neatly yet impossibly light. The cloak seems to carry the essence of the market itself, every calm breath, every gentle pause, every moment of quiet reflection stitched into its fibers. The fabric shimmers subtly, threads of silver and muted starlight intertwining seamlessly, radiating a feeling of security and warmth. The protagonist lifts the cloak, noting how impossibly soft it feels beneath their fingers. It does not resist, nor does it cling. It responds naturally, as if aware of the contours of their shoulders. When draped over the body, it settles perfectly, heavy enough to be felt, yet impossibly light, as if carrying the weight of patience and rest itself. A gentle warmth spreads from where it touches the skin, filling the chest and shoulders and flowing down to the toes. Every tension held for long moments seems to dissolve quietly into the night. For a moment, the protagonist simply stands beneath the drifting lanterns, cloak wrapped around them, feeling the starlight pulse faintly through the fabric. It is as if the cloak has absorbed the calm of every quiet moment in the market and now returns it, a tangible presence of ease and safety. The gentle sway of lanterns, the faint hum of the unseen melodies, and the weightless comfort of the clouds beneath converge into a singular sensation of rest. The protagonist exhales deeply, shoulders lowering, back straightening with a quiet gratitude that needs no expression. The stall and tailor fade slightly from the edges of awareness, though not disappearing. It is understood that this offering is not fleeting. The cloak is both gift and companion, ready to be worn whenever presence is welcomed, whenever calm is sought. The night around the protagonist seems to pulse in rhythm with this understanding. The lanterns glowing a little warmer, the clouds drifting a little softer, the air carrying the lingering scent of quiet patience. The protagonist takes a slow step forward, letting the cloak move naturally with each motion. Its light ripples gently, catching the shimmer of the stars overhead and mingling with the soft glow of the lanterns. Every step feels unhurried, grounded in a calm certainty that was previously unfamiliar. The night, the market, and the cloak all seem to form a singular rhythm, one that does not demand action but rewards presence. Other stalls, other lanterns, other wanderers fade gently into the background, yet the warmth of the gift lingers. The protagonist realizes that comfort does not always come from possession or accumulation. Sometimes It arrives in form, in experience, in the quiet offering of presence, transformed into something tangible yet gentle. The cloak is more than fabric. It is a vessel of patience, a reminder of ease, a token of safety in a world that otherwise hums with constant motion. With the cloak wrapped securely, the protagonist moves onward through the market, each step lighter, each breath more deliberate. Clouds drift lazily beneath, lanterns sway softly above, and the music of footsteps continues to ripple along the paths. The world feels suspended, held tenderly between what has been given and what is yet to be experienced. The starlight woven into the cloak seems to echo the constellations above, reminding the protagonist that even in quiet, unseen moments, guidance and care are ever present. The gift is not fleeting. It does not fade with the next step. It exists in the quiet folds of the fabric, in the warmth radiating from each thread, in the calm that now resides within the protagonist. Wrapped in patience and rest, the protagonist realizes that safety is not a place to reach, but a feeling to carry. And as they continue through the market, beneath lanterns and moons, amid floating clouds and shimmering stars, the cloak remains, gentle, enduring companion, stitching constellations not just into fabric, but into the quiet rhythm of heart and mind. Step by step, the protagonist moves forward, feeling the presence of the night, the market, and the gift intertwine. Each moment passes, fleeting yet whole, each footfall echoing softly, carrying the calm stitched into every fiber of the cloak. The celestial night stretches on, infinite and tender, and the protagonist, wrapped in patience and rest, walks unaware that the gift of comfort need not be earned, only accepted, only lived, only carried gently through the pathways of light and shadow, laughter and courage, silence and song. Tea beneath the floating moons. The market gradually opens into a wide, circular clearing, quieter than all the paths before it. The lanterns thin here, stepping back respectfully, as if aware that their presence is no longer needed. In their place, moons drift low in the sky, small, luminous, and close enough to feel personal. They hover at different heights, some no higher than rooftops, others just above eye level, glowing softly like patient sentinels. Their light is not sharp or cold, but warm and diffused, spilling gently across the clearing and settling into every corner without urgency, becoming smoother, almost cushioned, like stone warmed by long exposure to night air. Clouds gather at the edges of the space, forming natural walls that mute distant sounds. The market's hum fades into a barely perceptible hush, as if the world itself has decided to whisper less. Even footsteps feel quieter here, absorbed rather than echoed. At the center of the clearing sits a simple tea stall, small and unassuming. There are no signs, no decorations calling attention. A low table holds a few cups, each releasing thin spirals of steam that glow faintly under moonlight. The steam rises slowly, unbroken, curling into the air before dissolving. There is no vendor visible, yet the tea is clearly meant to be here. Waiting without expectation, the protagonist approaches and sits, movements guided by instinct rather than thought. The cloak of starlight settles naturally around their shoulders, adding to the sense of shelter. One of the cups rests within reach, already warm, as if it has been patiently holding its heat for this exact moment. The protagonist wraps their hands around it, feeling the gentle warmth seep into the palms, traveling upward through the arms, easing places that have been tense for longer than remembered. The tea has no obvious scent, yet it feels familiar. It carries warmth rather than flavor, comfort rather than taste. When the protagonist lifts the cup and takes the first sip, there is no dramatic sensation, no sudden realization. Instead, something subtle happens. The constant background noise of the mind softens. Thoughts that were previously stacked and overlapping begin to stretch apart, giving each other space. The tea moves through the body quietly, like a slow tide smoothing rough edges. The moons above drift a little lower, their glow deepening slightly, responding not to motion but to stillness. Their light pools on the table, the cup, the protagonist's hands. Shadows are soft and blurred, never sharp enough to distract. Time feels suspended, here not stopped, but held gently, like a breath paused comfortably at the top of an inhale. With each sip, worries loosen their grip without being named. There is no need to identify them, no effort to release them deliberately. They simply lose their weight, slipping away as if realizing they are no longer required. The body responds first. Shoulders drop, jaw unclenches. The chest rises and falls, slowly, deeply, with no sense of counting or control. The protagonist notices how quiet it has become. Not empty quiet, but full quiet. The kind that feels inhabited by calm rather than absence. Even the drifting clouds seem to slow, their movement barely perceptible. The tea cools gradually, but its warmth lingers inside, spreading gently, like a memory that stays after the moment has passed. The moons above reflect faintly in the surface of the tea, their shapes wobbling slightly with each subtle movement. The protagonist watches without intention, attention resting softly on the shifting light. Thoughts no longer push forward, demanding resolution. They drift instead, stretching out, thinning, dissolving into the surrounding stillness. Other wanderers sit at the edges of the clearing, distant and quiet, each wrapped in their own moment of rest. There is no interaction, yet a shared understanding permeates the space. This is not a place for conversation or exchange. It is a place for settling, for allowing the day whatever shape it once held to finally loosen its grip. The tea does not ask questions. It does not bring memories to the surface or prompt reflection. It simply supports the act of being present. The protagonist takes another slow sip, then sets the cup down, hands resting lightly around it, feeling the last of its warmth. The silence deepens, becoming almost tangible, like a soft blanket drawn across awareness. Time behaves differently here. It stretches so gently that it becomes irrelevant. Minutes lose meaning. There is only the sensation of being held in a moment that does not require progress. The market beyond the clearing feels distant now, not gone, but resting. Lanterns flicker faintly at the periphery, their light subdued, respectful of the quiet center. The protagonist leans back slightly, supported by air and cloud and light. The cloak settles more fully, its starlight threads dimming to a soft glow. Breathing becomes so slow, it nearly disappears from notice. The body feels heavy in the most comforting way, anchored yet safe, grounded yet free from effort above. One of the moons drifts closer, its surface softly textured, glowing like polished pearl. Its light brushes gently across the protagonist's face, eyelids growing heavier without resistance. The tea's warmth continues to work quietly, dissolving the last fragments of urgency. Thoughts that once clung stubbornly now stretch into silence, leaving only awareness behind. The clearing seems to hold this moment carefully, as if understanding its importance. No sound intrudes, no motion distracts. Even the stars beyond the moons appear to blink more slowly. The protagonist allows themselves to simply sit, eyes half closed, hands relaxed, posture unguarded. There is no sense of falling asleep, yet tonally drifting, a gentle in-between state where awareness remains but effort has fully dissolved. The market feels like a distant memory now, though its presence remains folded into the calm. The teacup cools completely, yet its effect remains, steady and grounding. The protagonist exhales, a long, unforced breath, and with it releases the final need to hold onto anything at all. The clearing responds with deeper quiet, as if acknowledging the surrender. The moons continue their slow drift, lantern-like and patient, watching without judgment. In this space, rest is not an action, but a state. It settles naturally, filling the spaces left behind by softened thoughts and eased worries. The protagonist remains there, suspended in warmth and moonlight, allowing time to pause just long enough for deep rest to take root. And as the silence deepens, as the clearing breathes gently around them, it becomes clear that this pause is not an ending nor a beginning, but a necessary stillness, one that allows everything else to fall into place when the walking resumes. Leaving without leaving. The quiet center slowly loosens its hold, not by pushing the protagonist away, but by easing them forward. The floating moons drift a little higher, their glow thinning, blending back into the wider night. Around the edges of the clearing, lanterns begin to dim one by one, not extinguishing, but softening, as if preparing for rest themselves. The air feels heavier now, in a comforting way, like the moment just before sleep, when the body settles fully into the surface beneath it. The protagonist rises without effort. There is no sense of departure, no sharp line. The market seems to understand this moment intimately. Paths reappear gently where clouds had gathered, their glow faint but steady. The cloak of starlight rests lightly around the shoulders, no longer radiant, but warm and familiar, like a memory that has found a permanent home. As the protagonist takes the first step forward, the market responds with a final, tender breath. Stalls blur at the edges, their forms dissolving into mist. The jars of laughter, courage, warmth, and quiet understanding fade not into nothing, but into the air itself, as if they were never separate from it to begin with. Nothing feels taken away. Instead, everything feels redistributed, spread thinly and evenly through the night. Lanterns overhead dim further, their light turning pearl soft. Then some drift upward, joining the constellations, indistinguishable from the sky. Others settle into the clouds, becoming gentle embers of glow that light the way just enough. The protagonist walks steadily, unhurried, footsteps barely touching the ground. The music that once rippled between steps has softened into a distant hum, no longer distinct, but still present, woven into the rhythm of breathing. The market pathways stretch ahead, then slowly shorten, folding inward like a story coming to rest. Arches dissolve, bridges of light become thin lines, then vanish. The world beyond the market does not rush in to replace it. Instead, there is a spacious pause where nothing demands attention. The protagonist notices that thoughts do not immediately return. The mind remains open and quiet, as if unsure whether it is needed yet. Clouds thicken gently around the lower edges of the path, rising like a soft tide. They do not obscure the way, they cushion it. Each step sinks slightly, supported, held. The protagonist feels grounded and light at once, a paradox that feels natural here. The calm carried within does not feel fragile. It feels settled, anchored, as though stitched into the fabric of awareness, the same way constellations were woven into the cloak. Looking back, the protagonist sees the market one last time, not as a place, but as an impression, a glow without edges, a warmth without source. It no longer has boundaries or structure. It exists more like a feeling recalled during a quiet moment, unmistakable yet impossible to fully describe. There is no urge to return immediately, no fear of forgetting. The understanding is clear. The market has not gone anywhere. The lanterns continue to dim until their light is no longer needed at all. The night deepens into a soft, enveloping dark, rich rather than empty. Stars blink slowly overhead, steady and patient. The sky feels closer now, lower, as if gently folding over the world. The air cools slightly, encouraging rest without demanding it. The protagonist's steps slow further, eventually becoming almost imperceptible. Walking transforms into drifting. Movement happens without decision, guided by a natural inclination toward stillness. The cloak shifts subtly with each breath, settling more fully. Its starlight threads now little more than a memory of glow. The body feels comfortably heavy, balanced, supported by the night itself. Sounds fade gradually. There is no sudden silence, only a layering of quiet. Distant echoes dissolve. The hum of the market becomes indistinguishable from the sound of breathing. Even the heartbeat feels slower, deeper, like a drum played from far away. The protagonist's awareness narrows gently, not collapsing, but focusing inward, like a lens adjusting itself to rest. The path beneath the feet becomes softer, then indistinct. Whether the protagonist is still walking or standing no longer seems important. The sense of direction dissolves, replaced by a feeling of being held in place. The night wraps closer, careful and deliberate, as if tucking the world in. Thoughts attempt to rise, once or twice small reminders, fragments of elsewhere, but they find no urgency here. They drift away as easily as breath, leaving the body. The calm carried within expands slightly, filling the space thoughts once occupied. It feels complete, sufficient, requiring no reinforcement. The sky lowers another degree, stars dimming just enough to rest. The clouds above and below merge into a single, vast softness. The protagonist's eyes grow heavy, though there is no struggle to keep them open. Awareness remains, but it floats, unanchored to effort. The market, the path, the lanterns, everything folds gently into this moment. There is a sense of reassurance in the air, subtle but unmistakable, a promise without words. The market will always return, not as a place to be sought, but as a state to be welcomed. Whenever stillness is allowed, whenever presence replaces urgency, the lanterns will awaken again. The stalls will glow. The music will ripple between footsteps. The tea will warm waiting hands. The protagonist exhales slowly, deeply, and the night responds by drawing closer, sealing the calm in place. The final traces of light soften into darkness that feels safe, familiar, and kind. The body yields fully now, sinking into rest without resistance. There is no final step, no definitive farewell. Leaving happens the same way arrival did, gradually, quietly, without force. The protagonist does not cross a threshold so much as dissolve into ease. The celestial night completes its gentle folding, wrapping the world in sleep, and in that sleep, the calm remains steady, enduring, waiting patiently for the next moment of stillness. When the market will open once more, lantern by lantern, breath by breath. The market fades into the night. Lanterns dim, moons drift higher, and you are held in calm. Carry this serenity within as you drift into sleep. Remember, the celestial night market is always here, waiting whenever stillness is welcome. Good night, and rest peacefully.